Good morning. This is Monday, and we start the week off with finishing up our study into the letter the letter from Jude, the brother of the Lord. If you'll remember, we got through the first 16, 17 verses, but I want to start back in verse 16 this morning and point out some identifiers. Now, when I say identifiers, I mean that with apostates, with people who don't truly love the Lord but claim to know Him, or have a form of godliness but denying the power thereof, those types, there are some identifiers, and Jude gives these to us in verse 16. First I'll read the verse, then I'll start showing them to you. Verse 16 says, these are murmurers. Let me back up. So just read into this with context. I know with Friday being the beginning of the weekend and us having a couple of days there, you may not remember this. So let me just read into it. Jude says, "And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these things, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of His saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against. These are murmurers." Now, he's still talking about these that we talked about from verse 4, these men that crept in unawares. But he's been talking about them the whole letter. And so he's fixing to finish this up, but there's some identifiers. If you want to know who among you is a pretender, so to speak, notice these things. Number one, there'll be a murmurer. Murmuring means to mutter complaints, just to always have something to say, to complain. And you'll know these types. It's not a loud complaint. It's just more of a dissatisfaction and muttering against God in an undertone. And if you've ever had kids, teenagers specifically, you've dealt with this anyway. You know what, when you tell them to do something and they walk off muttering under their breath. Well, people do that in the house of God too. And they mutter against God's people and against Him. They maybe not blatantly, but they'll always have something to say about the good things God is doing in the community and in the church. So anyway, there's an identifier. They'll be murmurers. Or verse 16, I'll read the verse and come back. He said, "These are murmurers, complainers, walking after their own lust, and their mouth speaketh great swelling words, having men's persons in admiration because of the advantage." We actually mentioned the latter part of this verse in Friday's session, but I didn't get into these identifiers. I just mentioned that phrase about persons in admiration. I did touch on that, but we were closing out the video, so I want to go back over this. The second one here is complainers. These are those that complain about their lot in life. It's one thing to murmur against other people, but then to complain about your lot in life. Well, I just have this going on, I have that going on, and I just never have had this particular talent, and I just never have, just to sit there and complain about your lot in life. See, people who love the Lord, they may complain from time to time, but more often than not, they're thankful because they realize what they could have, where they could be, what they might have been dealing with had they not known the Lord, had He not moved in their life and saved them and brought them to redemption. If you remember, Paul and Silas in Acts chapter 16 didn't murmur or complain. They sang praises to God as they were in the stocks, and their witness won others of the jail to Christ, particularly the Philippian jailer. Anyway, that's the mark of a Christian. Murmuring and complaining is some potential signs. Look, not everybody that murmurs or complains is an apostate. Not everybody that murmurs and complains is an antichrist or a non-Christian. But these are potential identifiers. These are things to look for. Because if it's chronic, if you never see anything else out of them, then they're suspect. These type are always discontented. They're never satisfied. And you'll know somebody that you've known. Most likely, I do. You know somebody, seems like nothing you do is ever good enough. If you make something for them, say you cook them a meal, well, it's too cold, or it's too hot, or you didn't make it fast enough, or you didn't season it just right. I mean, it's never, well, thank you for the thought and the effort. It's they're not content. They're not, these, anyway, that's just going on about these complainers. The third one here, walk after their own lust or desires. Now, these desires could be good or bad, but the point is they leave God out. You can desire good things, but make them more important than God, and they become ungodly. So when it says walking after their own lusts, that can be a wide variety of things. Some people lust after money, some people lust after women, some people lust after drugs, some people lust after prestige and power. Some people just want a better life for themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't leave God out of it. If you put your eyes on God, He'll give you the life He wants you to have, and it'll be better. But some people are focused on just trying to change it all. Young people a lot of times just want to get out of town. They think the town's the problem. They want to get away from their hometown where they grew up and go find their lot in life. They want to just do better. It's funny we use the word lot because Lot was that way. That's probably not a coincidence. But anyway, so that was number 3. Number 4, their mouth speaks great swelling words. Again, these are identifiers. You got somebody who murmurs, who's discontent, who walks after their own lust, all about them, want to do what's important to them. And then 4, their mouth speaks great swelling words. They surely love to brag. They love to use extravagant language, and it's fizz and foam. It's got no content. It's like root beer. If you pour root beer in a cup and you go to drink it, you'll notice. If you pour too fast, you can't fill it all the way up with drink. You've got a layer of foam that high. And when we were kids, we used to try to drink the foam down to make room for the drink. Well, you can do that, but you're not getting anything. I mean, that's just fizz and foam. There's no content to it. And that's what these people who boast these great swelling words, that's what they are. They're fizz and foam. And then 5 is they have men's persons in admiration because of advantage. This literally means admiring countenances. They're great at applauding others, and they say a lot of things which are not true because they're looking to men for their promotion and their advantage. James put it this way. Have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ with respect of persons. For if there come unto you in your assembly a man with gold ring and goodly apparel, and also a poor man in vile raiment, and you have respect to him that wears the gay clothing, and say, sit thou here in a good place, and to the poor, stand now there, or sit there under my footstool. Basically, James tells them, don't treat people different based on their station in life. And Jude, who is James's brother, is saying a very similar thing here. Having men's persons in admiration because of advantage. Those 5 things are identifiers. Let's recap. Murmurers. That's murmuring against people. Complainers. Complaining about yourself and your life and what you don't have. Walking after your own lust. Speaking great swelling words. And having other people in a particular regard based on their advantage or their potential for your advantage. Treating people preferentially, so to speak. These are 5 identifiers. You're dealing with somebody who could be an apostate. Somebody who may not love the Lord like you thought that they should. And these are found in our churches. These are those that crept in unaware, who, if they ever get any power in the church, will split one wide open. And the reason we have to be aware of this is so that we can do things to prevent against it, or so that we can try to win them the right direction. You may not. I've always heard this, and I believe it. Everybody's welcome in our church. Not everybody can join, but everybody's welcome to come and sit and listen and participate. Because, and I don't care if they're homosexuals or if they're living out of wedlock in adultery, if they're thieves, if they're liars. I mean, believe me, that's who we need to come because they need to know the Lord. It may make some folks uncomfortable, but that's who needs to come. Sick people need to go to a hospital, and sinners need to come to church. Now, they can't join in that state, but once they've accepted the Lord and followed Him in believers' baptism, they can join the church and become members. But everybody's welcome, because if you can sit under good gospel preaching, you're either going to get right or get gone. I don't believe anybody can sit week after week listening to the truth and not be affected by it. I just don't believe that. I mean, it may take a while for some folks, but I just don't believe that. We've had some folks come and stay a while. But when it came down to making a decision for the Lord, they had to either make a decision or go. And we've had some leave, unfortunately. But everybody's welcome in the house of God. But just know that's the reason these people creep in unawares. Because we don't stand at the back door with a shotgun and tell people who can and can't come. The true Church of Jesus Christ wants people to come. And we want them to come for the right reasons and hear the gospel and accept it. Or maybe having heard the gospel, come to expound on what they know. Or maybe having been raised in church, it maybe needs some doctrinal clarification. But whatever the case, we want people to come. But we want them to put their eyes on Jesus and not be murmurers, complainers, or selfish, boasting people who treat people preferentially. All right, well, that's our time for today. May not get all this uploaded. Still having some issues. I'm able to record. I'm not always able to upload. So I don't know when this video will become available, but I want people to have it when as soon as it is available, to help them to understand what Jude is talking about. And I hope you learned something. I hope it encouraged your heart, and I hope that you trust the Lord in all you do and follow Him faithfully. And don't be one of these, because we'll see the signs. All right, well, God bless you all. We'll see y'all, Lord willing, tomorrow.